CPUC approves $32 million in broadband grants. Charter completes its $34.5 billion acquisition of Cox Communications. AST Space Mobile gets the go-ahead to test satellite-to-device cellular service. FCC eliminates its gigabit broadband speed goal. And SpaceX launches more Starlink satellites on its 100th launch of the year. Those stories and more on This Week in the Broadband Universe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Craig Corbin. CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, approving broadband grants totaling upwards of $32 million this week. Among the awards, nearly $15 million for the Merced Dos Palos project to connect 289 unserved locations in Fresno and Merced counties. $5.75 million for the Tulare Central project and $3.45 million for the Plumas Greenville project. Funding will go toward expansion of high-speed internet access, providing free broadband to affordable housing residents, and improving digital skills. The grants are made through CASF, the California Advanced Services Fund. The U.S. Space Force has awarded $60 million in grants to develop and demonstrate space-based data transport for use in the Space Data Network. Amazon Leo, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Rocket Lab, and York Space Systems were the recipients. The vendors will need to provide interconnectivity across the SDN backbone, as well as developing space exchange point satellites to act as orbital routers. AST Space Mobile gaining temporary approval from the FCC to test satellite direct-to-device in the 800 megahertz spectrum. The company is partnering with AT&T and Verizon to provide mobile satellite connectivity for smartphones. The approval allows a 30-day authorization to evaluate and demonstrate services using up to 100 commercially available off-the-shelf devices. The tests will be limited to a pair of 50-kilometer radius areas in Midland, Texas, and Lanham, Maryland. Elsewhere, EchoStar co-founder and chairman Charlie Ergen has reached a deal to acquire controlling stake in wireless service provider MobileX. The transaction values MobileX at approximately $200 million. Verizon will acquire a minority stake. Ergen previously abandoned a $46 billion effort to build a nationwide 5G competitor to industry leaders AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon following FCC complaints about a lack of progress. The FCC's longtime gigabit target benchmark for broadband speed has been eliminated. The commission saying that while fiber networks have long offered gigabit speeds for some time, the gigabit speed goal is not technologically neutral and isn't fair to other slower technologies. And so the broadband benchmark will remain 100 megabits per second downstream and 20 megabits per second upstream. The $34.5 billion merger between Charter and Cox Communications has finally reached the finish line. The new company will take the Cox Communications name and have operations in 45 states, serving about 37 million customers. The deal closed following a vote last week by the California Public Utilities Commission to approve the transaction. That was the final federal and state regulatory approval that was required. Services for the company will be branded Spectrum. Headquarters will remain in Stamford, Connecticut, while maintaining a significant presence in Atlanta, the longtime home of Cox Communications. Verizon's effort to get a refund of its $46.9 million FCC fine has been denied after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected without explanation the request for a rehearing on the penalty for failure to adequately protect customer location data. A separate case involving AT&T had previously been sent back to the Fifth Circuit for further review. We told you previously about the lawsuit filed against the Paramount-Warner Brothers merger by 12 state attorneys general. Now, Paramount asking a federal judge to require those states to post a $1.88 billion bond due to the quantifiable financial harm the antitrust lawsuit imposes. Paramount calculates that by the time the trial wraps up, it will have paid out at least $1.3 billion that would be unrecoverable. The saga continues. And finally, a milestone launch for SpaceX this week, the 100th mission of 2026, carrying 24 more Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. That brings the Starlink constellation to more than 11,000 satellites. SpaceX first surpassed 100 launches per year in 2024, a total of 138 missions, 170 missions in 2025, and current plans are for multiple launches per day, eventually with a goal of 1,000 missions per year. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on This Week in the Broadband Universe.